How's it going, guys? What I wanted to do today is give you some news on the upcoming Dragon's Teeth DLC that'll be coming out later in the summer. We don't know an awful lot about it. We do know that it is a summertime release. We do know it'll have a lot to do with regards to close quarters engagements, which is actually intriguing to me because I really like the close quarters DLC from Battlefield 3 despite a lot of people hating it. That being said, it does interest me, and that's why I wanted to post the news about it. I don't normally do a lot of news posts, but today we got information on the weapons, so I felt this would be good information to give back to you guys if you share the same level of interest in close quarters DLCs that I do. Very quickly, what you'll see in the background is basically me going ham in an attack boat, me going nuts. 25 zip start, basically not having a repairman for most of the ride, which is pretty fun except for the part here. But other than that, it's me going ham, me going nuts, having a lot of fun with the attack boat. I think you'll enjoy the gameplay even if you don't enjoy boats. So stay tuned, watch, enjoy the show. Needless to say, let's get started with the talk about these rumored weapons. Of course, like I was saying, we're going to be talking about these weapons of sorts. And of course, I'll give you the link to it. The site's MP First. It's basically one of my more trusted sites. I go to it all the time. I find the information to be not only consistent but reliable. So I'll link for you, and you can be the deciding factor on it. If you think this information's garbage, then hey, that's your prerogative. But at least from the source, if you don't want to read the file, someone from a Symptic forum moderator basically dug through Battlefield 4 files that have been introduced in the recent PC patch. So they believe that this information through data mining will be relevant to the upcoming DLC. And if that's the case, I would consider this information pretty reliable. Again, we'll see how it plays out. I tend to think this is pretty decent information. Now, according to the findings, apparently it'll launch with an arsenal of new weapons and gadgets tailored toward urban combat. The first, of course, being basically a new attack bot that can be controlled remotely through a PDA, and the bot's basically exactly similar to the EOD bot that's already in the game. The difference, of course, being that these EOD bots will have a chain gun attached to the top of them, or a 40mm grenade launcher mounted on the top. This is quite intriguing, a prospect, basically. Now, my opinion on it, of course, I'd like to play it out. I'd like to see how it plays out. I'd like to see if there's a balance issue. I'd like to see how they play out in maps and if you can change them between maps. But I don't like the sounds of it, to be perfectly honest, already. That's my opinion on it. I think it'll just be too much spam and clutter. Can you imagine if you could bring these back to the base maps? If you could play with everyone using basically an EOD bot with a chain gun or 40mm grenade launcher in Operation Metro or Operation Locker. It's going to be a spam fest and an incredible overloaded waste of time in a game that already has too many explosives and weapons. But again, this is a premature evaluation, having not played it, so take it with a grain of salt. That's just my early thoughts, but I can already see the doom written on the wall. So I hope that part's not confirmed, but again, we'll have to see how it plays out. Now, of course, one of the new weapons with regard to the game will be the Ballistic Shield, which if you play Modern Warfare 2 will basically be a riot shield. But this is interesting too because we'd have to see how it plays out. We'll have to see if the Ballistic Shield's a counter to this EOD bot, and we'll have to, of course, see how it plays out versus infantry. We'll have to see if meleeing the shield will knock the guy off balance. We'll have to see if firing explosives at the guy's feet can knock him off balance. We'll have to see if it kills him in one shot. We'll have to see how well it absorbs bullets and if it has a damage counter, like say an extra 100 damage before your shield breaks. I don't know. We'll see how it plays out. More details to come in the future, but it does seem like one of those we'll have to see how it plays out when we get it moments, because to me it just seems like something, it seems like a gimmick early on. Just add it in. It's add to the game. We'll see how it goes. But again, early judgment. We'll see in the future. Now, the weapons, because I'm sure most of you here are for the weapons. With regard to the weapons, there's going to be a few of them that add into this, but I'm not sure how it'll fit. From the early start, the first one is an assault rifle, which will be for the assault class, obviously. It's called the Bulldog 762 assault rifle. This weapon, at least on the Google image search or anything with regard to image search and information with regard to a preliminary look that I'm giving here, basically looks like a bullpup assault rifle that fires a 7.62 round from the sounds of it. That's very good because I've always tend to enjoy the higher caliber weapons. You sacrifice, and my best guess is that it'll be a lower fire rate or a medium fire rate mixed with the high damage model of the 7.62 round, which will be interesting. So that should automatically tell you that you'll be tap or burst firing it, and it'll probably have large recoil if the fire rate's higher than usual. Because most of the high damage weapons, like the Ace 52 and the Scar, have low fire rates in this game. And this one, most bullpup weapons don't have a low fire rate. So, well, at least in the game that I can think of off the top of my head. But if they do introduce a weapon that has a much higher fire rate, then you'll probably see increased recoil. But that being said, I do enjoy the higher damage model weapons, so ideally this Bulldog 7.62 will be a higher damage weapon, and we'll have to see how that works. The next weapon, of course, will be an engineering-specific PDW style weapon, and it's called the SIG MPX. And again, on the Google image search, it looks like an MP5 or something similar to that. It'll obviously be a PDW, but it looks very similar to the MP5, just with maybe a different barrel at the front. I know next to nothing about this weapon. I'm not sure what its fire rate will be, what its damage model will be. But if it's following similar trends of other DLC releases for PDWs, it'll probably have the same damage model as most of the other weapons that have been released, at least in the PDW class in terms of the other DLCs. But again, this could be the one DLC that changes up the damage models or throws in weapons that aren't commonly used. So again, as you might expect me to say, you'll see how it plays out. The next one's the one I'm most intrigued about. It's called the Macmillan CS5 Sniper Rifle. Again, preliminary Google image search lets you see that it basically has a shorter barrel, which kind of concerns me a little bit. Because I'm not sure if it's going to be one of those sort of battle rifle semi-automatic weapons that they just released in the Naval Strike. And that weapon, I can tell you, I didn't even want to play with that weapon. It was so bad to give it a review. Because normally I review all the weapons, at least in terms of recon, especially in this game. I tried out that weapon for maybe a match or two, and I figured, nope, it's not even worth my time to get some highlights to post a review on it. That bad, that garbage, forget that review. I refuse to do it. But I'm hoping that this Macmillan CS5 is not a battle rifle of sorts, because then it will be one that I probably never use again. When I first saw Macmillan, the first thing that came to my mind when I was looking at it is Macmillan TAC 50, which would be a 50 caliber of sorts, and that excited me. I'm like, oh great, another sniper rifle I get to use, another sniper rifle I get to have fun with. But then the thought occurred to me after, it wouldn't make sense to put in a 50 caliber sniper rifle that isn't a one-hit kill, and obviously for balance reasons, DICE wouldn't include a 50 cal that isn't a battle rifle pickup, which is probably what a TAC 50 would have been. It would have been a battle pickup you could pick up off the ground as a 50 cal, but we already have enough of those, I suppose. But yeah, it's a Macmillan CS5, not the TAC 50. So we'll have to see how this one goes in terms of, is it a battle rifle? Is it a bolt action? Is it a one-hit kill over longer range? What's the damage model? Again, we'll see. The next two are actually handguns. The one is the first one I'll talk about is the Unica 6. It's called the Unica 6 Magnum, and as you might expect, it's basically similar to the 44 Magnum. I'm not sure what the changes would be. At least on the Google image search, most of them have a wooden handle, and the basic barrel is essentially the same. Nothing really. It'll be obviously either a 357 or a 44 Magnum. High damage model. I'm hoping it doesn't have a lot of screen shake, because that's a lot of the reason why I don't use the higher caliber pistols in this game, is the screen shake. I just can't stand it. It annoys the hell out of me, and I'll much rather take my P226 over many of the others. Plus the thing is too, well, I'll talk about the next one, then I'll talk about what I was going to say next, but the next one is of course the one that everyone's familiar with, the Desert Eagle. This thing will be firing, well, I'm assuming it'll be chambered in 50 caliber rounds. But we'll see again how it goes. But apparently the Desert Eagle is supposed to make a comeback. And again, we'll see how that plays out with regard to screen shake. If there's a lot of screen shake, I won't be using it. I might use it enough to give a review if you guys really want to see it enough. But I'm not a big fan of high screen shake weapons. And ideally, since this thing's going to be the highest caliber of all the weapons, especially handguns that come out in the near future from the looks of it, there'll be a lot of screen shake, I bet. So, again, we'll see. But basically, those are the weapons summed up. There's the Bulldog 762 assault rifle, which will almost entirely be exclusive to assault. The SIG MPX, which will be a PDW for engineers. The Macmillan CS5 sniper rifle, which will be for recon. And the Unica 6 and the Desert Eagle. Or the Unica 6 Magnum and the Desert Eagle, which will be obviously handguns. But for me, at least, I'll have to judge on screen shake. I'll have to judge on recoil. I'll have to judge on everything that comes with those two weapons to see if they're like manageable, good. We'll see. What's interesting too is the last point I wanted to say is with regard to at least what this MP First article says here, it says that, like I listed, those weapons are exclusive to what'll be coming out, and it doesn't say an awful lot with regard to the support kit, and that's interesting because they say the only thing that hasn't been listed as coming out with the support kit, because they're not getting a weapon, would have to be the Ballistic Shield. So the question remains, is that going to be exclusive to the support kit? We don't know. We simply don't. And at this point, I don't think anyone's sure of anything because we're just sort of reporting preliminary thought processes on what we think we're going to see. So my question to you, if you're still with me in this 11-minute video so far, is what do you think? What would you want? Me personally, I'm not so excited about the EOD bots, as I've already said, if that's actually going to be true. I am interested in the new weapons, not so much the pistols, especially, like I said, if there's going to be screen shake, I'm not sure how that'll play out. The screen shake just turns me off from a lot of weapons. I just don't use them. I'd much rather take my P226. But I do like the idea of higher caliber assault rifles. I do like the idea of another bolt action in the game. There's a lot of good bolt actions. The Gold Magnum, the SRR-61, the M40A5, the M98B, they're all good weapons, but I mean, another sniper rifle is always intriguing to me as a guy that loves to post weapon reviews on recon guns and bolt actions, so that would be interesting to me. The Ballistic Shield I already talked about. We'll have to see how it plays out, if there's a damage cap on it, if there's balance issues with it, how it plays out versus explosives, because if it doesn't block explosives, what's the use, especially since we're going to be adding more explosive weapons in. And lastly, again, what are your thoughts? Would you rather have seen the AN94 come back? I would love the G3A3 at some point, although I know the Scar is basically the G3A3 in sort of a repackaged skin, but that gun was one of my favorite weapons in Battlefield 3. AN94 is great too. Like to see that as well. The burst weapons over medium range are deadly and usually my favorites. So again, that's the sum up. Those are rumors, not 100% confirmed. But that's the news for today that I figured I'd give you, and I'd give you a good boat gameplay here, carrying the team for a while. That's it. Let me know what you want to see. Let me know if you think there's going to be any big issues or balance issues, just like I figured. Let me know if you agree, disagree. See you guys later.